Good evening and welcome to the 2024 Pits and Analysis Quarterfinals edition from yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and my partner in crime, Austin Williams from Sports Talk with Austin, as we go over your pits and analysis for the CFP quarterfinals on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Can the Notre Dame Fighting Irish slay the Georgia Bulldogs? Can Boise State work some of that Cinderella magic? Could we see Cam Scatterbo and the Arizona State Sun Devils work that magic? Or could the Texas Longhorns work some magic? Let me tell you something right now. We're going to see a wild ride, especially from the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Oregon Ducks in the 2025 edition of the Granddaddy of them all. You're going to see it all right here. How you doing tonight, good
Uh-huh.
buddy? And how's your Christmas been?
Oh, I had a pretty good Christmas, doing pretty good, Jackson. Watching the bowl games. Had some wild endings today. Currently watching a couple on the TV in the background here. I mean, life's good. Living the dream. Can't wait to make some picks on the playoffs to talk about these games. But I will say this, Jackson. We started with 12, we're left with 8. Only 8 dreams are left remaining, and there will be one who get to accomplish that dream at the end. So who's it gonna be? The moment's now.
Let's freaking go.
And Jackson, one moment that I think in history we all remember, and this is not to add insult to injury. 2007, the Verbo Fiesta Bowl, the Statue of Liberty against the Oklahoma Sooners. Will history repeat itself on New Year's Eve in the exact same bowl? Will it happen again? Is there a miracle coming? Jackson, take it away, good buddy.
Boise State is always doing so well in the Fiesta Bowl because, I mean, they won against Arizona in the 2014 Fiesta Bowl, and I believe they won against TCU in the 2010 Fiesta Bowl. They're always working some of that magic in the Fiesta Bowl. Like, I don't know why, but there's always a lot of magic over there. And
Mm-hmm.
Spencer Danielson, he's worked a lot of magic for Boise State, which it feels similar to what Chris Peterson created over there. And Brian Hart was good, but he wasn't as good as Chris Peterson, nor was he as good as Spencer Danielson. And because last year Boise State did just enough to make it to the conference title game, they won the Mount West Conference, and then this year they keep it close with the Oregon Ducks in the best game that no one could watch on television against the Oregon Ducks.
Mm-hmm. And yes, this is the 3 versus 6 matchup. Penn State, Boise State, the Fiesta Bowl in the desert in Phoenix. And like you said, Jackson, Boise State, when they got the Fiesta Bowl, it's almost like Jackson, they've got so much history with this NY6 Bowl. It's almost fitting, Jackson. The impossible task. Everyone is saying Boise State. They're not going to win. Boise State's a flash in the pan. They're a fluke. It's not going to happen. It's not possible. Well, let me tell you something, Jackson. It'll be almost 20 years to the date because this game will be played on December 31st, to the exact same date that they pulled off the upset against Oklahoma on January 1st of 2007. Boise State, Penn State, is there an upset in the making? We'll give our picks here in just a few minutes. But I'll say this. I want to put this narrative to bed. Jackson, we've got two teams, that have two different narratives, excuse me, that have two different narratives, that have two different ends of the spectrum. You've got one team with Ashton Genty, who came runner up in the Heisman vote, and a lot of people are claiming is just that, just a good story, and just a part of winning the Mountain West and just running the table and beating Oregon. Then you've got the other team in Penn State, who a lot of people, have said this is a special Penn State team. A lot of people have thought this Penn State team could win the Big Ten, could win the whole thing. And I'm inclined to agree. They are a special team. But James Franklin and company in big games aren't exactly a good combination. This is a fascinating matchup. I cannot wait to watch this game because it's going to be a battle. Penn State's defensive line versus Ashton Genty and that Boise State O-line. Because we saw Oregon, they were able to establish a little bit of a ground game against Penn State in the Big Ten title game. And Ashton Genty is one of the best backs in the country. It don't matter how much you game plan for this guy. He just breaks off tackles and he gets to running. And Penn State, that's going to be game plan number one. You stop Ashton Genty, you stop Boise. But that's easier said than done. It don't matter if you load the box on them, send exotic blitzes. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't seem to matter. And for Penn State, the pressure's on them now. They won the first game, but now they're playing a team that everyone seems to be counting out. Is the pressure too much for Penn State, Jackson? Because everyone's going to pick them to win this game. Is James Franklin finally going to put the demons to bed?
Ooh,
Or is it going to get to them?
that's a
What do
good
you think,
question.
Jackson?
That's a good question. Penn State, their defense brought their A game against Kevin Jennings and SMU. That was a great one. But it seems like to me, if you put a stop to Boise State and if you put a stop to Ashton Genty, you basically get the team to yourself. That's basically key to victory for the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Yes, and one of the things too is Boise State is going to have to game plan against Abdul Carter, who wears number 11 on the Nittany Lions defense. He's a very special talent. I think he'll be a top 15 draft pick. He's been compared to Michael Parsons a lot, and you could see the similar play styles in him. And the thing is, if Boise's going to double him, someone's going to come open on that defensive line. Who else is going to step up on that D line? Because this is going to be the key to this game, Jackson. Boise's O line versus Penn State's D line. Whoever wins this game in the trenches will win this football game, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And let's be honest, Jackson, it also comes down to the quarterbacks too. That's another big key to this game. Who makes less mistakes, Drew Aller or Boise's quarterback? Who makes less mistakes? Because Drew Aller, at times, Jackson, we've seen the highs and we've seen the really lows for him, where he makes those unexplainable mistakes. And it's a big game, big pressure. I don't know, Jackson. Is there magic in the air New Year's Eve night? Is there a little magic?
Well, I'm looking at the stats for Boise State and Penn State. And, the offense for the Nittany Lions, man, it's pretty good. They've been doing very well there. And Boise State, their passing defense has just been kind of
Yes. Yeah, that's one thing, Jackson, about did you say Penn State, correct? Make sure I heard you right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Penn State's stats look very well, but Boise State, all you have to do is put a stop to Ashton Genty, and it seems like they don't have an answer for you right there.
Yes. Jackson, it's one of those, if Boise gets Ashton Genty going, like you've mentioned, I've mentioned, If Ashton Jeanty is doing what he wants to that defense, Boise can win this football game. It's plain and simple. But you put a stop to it, we're really going to find out what this Boise team's all about, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know something, though, Jackson? Not to cut you off, but I'll say this. This, good buddy. Big game, big pressure. We're going to find out who wins. Go ahead.
Well, I'm looking at the game, and I guess we're ready to make our prediction, right?
Let me see. Well, yes. Why not? Let's not keep the people waiting no longer.
I'm going to go Penn State 35-24 against Boise State. I think that's going to be my final score for this one.
Jackson, as much as I want to smell an upset in the air, I just don't think it's going to happen. Not on this one. Not on this one. I think Penn State's defensive line and defense is going to be too much. They're going to slow Jeanty down just enough, and I think Penn State's offense is explosive enough. I like what they have in Warren and Nick Singleton. I think carry the day. I'm going to go Penn State 41-23.
That sounds fair. That was muted for a moment.
But Jackson, this next game, though, could get a little interesting.
The Texas Longhorns and the Arizona State Sun Devils. I'm old enough to remember this being a Big 12 Pac-10 game when it was in the Holiday Bowl on ESPN.
And this is the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. This is the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. And here's the thing about this game. This is another one of them. Is there magic in the air in Atlanta, GA? Is there a little magic left? Because Cam Scattaboo, he's like Ashton Jeanty. He could take over a game, and he's like a rhinoceros in that backfield. He's hard to get on the ground. Like, even if you shed your first blocker, he's just hard to get on the ground. And that is what's really helped Arizona State throughout the year, is the fact that they have a very good to great running game to help their offense out. And, we've talked about this multiple times, but I just want to keep blushing over the job that Kenny Dillingham has done with these Sun Devils. They were picked dead last in the Big 12 Media Day picks in the media polls. And they're 2 wins away from possibly playing for a national championship. 2 wins. 2. Like, how many teams could say they've ever done that? Could be picked last to go 2 wins away from possibly having a chance to win the whole dang thing. Not very many. But on the other side, the Texas Longhorns, a team that and maybe has a little controversy at quarterback. What say you, Jack? Is there a controversy at QB in Texas, or is it all noise?
For right now, it's all noise, but I don't think it's going to be a problem against Arizona State if they're winning. But if they're losing in the first quarter, then you're going to see Arch Manning brought in.
Oh, okay. You heard it here first. Because, Jackson, that's been the thing that's been going around over the last couple of weeks. People are doubting Quentin Ewers, saying maybe this guy doesn't have the stuff to get Texas to the national championship, to get them the title that they so desire to win. That maybe it's time for Arch Manning to take over. But, Jackson, you have been pro Quentin Ewers all year long. You have even said you feel like he is the man to get the job done, and Steve Sarkisian needs to ride it out. for good or for bad. Do you still feel that way?
For right now, yes. But if Quinn Ewers is having a bad start in the first quarter, second quarter to the point where they're trailing by double digits or trailing by a
Mm-hmm.
touchdown, then it's
Mm-hmm.
time to bring that spark on offense for
Mm-hmm.
with Arch Manning. And there's a stat I was really just looking at for Arizona State. But you know how Arizona State lost to Texas Tech and Cincinnati this year?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know what the key was? Stopping Cam Scatterbo. Because
Yep. Yep.
Scatterbo has 50 rushing yards against Texas Tech, and he has 75
Mm-hmm.
rushing yards against Cincinnati. Now let's look at the win against Mississippi State, for example. He had 262 rushing yards against them, 33 carries against Mississippi State. Want to take a look at Kansas?
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at Kansas. Cam Scabo,
Mm-hmm.
182 rushing yards, 25 carries. Big win against Utah on Friday night in October at the Desert, 158 rushing yards, 22 carries.
Mm-hmm.
And the big wins in November against K-State, for example. Well, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
73 rushing yards. He didn't do that much against Kansas State, it seemed, but that's not where they were losing that one. But let's look at
Mm-hmm.
Arizona State BYU, for example. 143 rushing yards, 28 carries, 3 touchdowns
Mm-hmm.
against BYU. The Big 12 title game. Let's go to that. 170 rushing yards. But the key, it seems like to me, is put Cam Scabo under 100 rushing yards, or better yet, put a stop to him, and you're really good to go.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's the thing too, Jackson. Like Ashton Denty, this team goes as he goes. And Arizona State has got some talented wide receivers. Don't even get me wrong. They've got some talented wideouts. I think Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham, they're building a bright future over there. I like what this team has gotten, what they're bringing. But you look at Texas, Jackson. Their biggest strength is that speed kills. The old saying is speed kills, right? Texas has got a lot of speed. They've got a lot of speed, and it shows up on film every single time. That's what really helps Texas, Jackson. The fact that they could put their receivers on crossers and send them on these routes and motions and throw it to them short, and they can make a couple people miss and they're gone. And their running game, Jackson, if they can get the running game going, I don't know who slows Texas down. They'll be the complete package. And then I'll have no choice to admit but to say Texas is back. And we'll have to revisit that argument again, Jackson, that we had a couple years ago.
Well,
Dag,
a year ago,
dag,
actually.
a year ago. Daggone it, Texas. Go back to mediocrity. It was much better. But in all seriousness, though, in all seriousness. But yeah, if Texas gets the run game going with Blue and their speedy receivers, they're a threat to win the whole thing. They're a threat to win it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the Longhorns, I really think should put a scare in Arizona State, especially since I've noticed that Arizona State is not very good on red zone possession on defense because it's 101st in the nation. That's bad.
Yeah, Arizona State's a team. If you get in the red zone, you're going to come away with touchdowns. That's been their Achilles heel in a lot of games. The key to this game, Jackson, is can Arizona State hold Texas to field goals? If they can do that, they've got a chance. But if they can't do that, it might be a long afternoon.
Yep. That's
And
what's going to happen.
I want to say this, Jackson. Does it concern you at all, Jackson, about the kicking situation in Texas? Their kicker, Burt Auburn. He's missed a couple kicks here lately. You think it's just a little, what kickers go through where they're missing, or do you think this could become an issue and come back to bite them in the tail?
Kicking could bite them in the tail for sure, but not against Arizona State.
You don't think so? You don't. I mean, Jackson, if they get down the red zone, they're kicking field goals and they're missing them. Could leave the door open. It's going to be interesting. But with all that
Okay.
being said, though, Jackson, since you picked on the first one, I'll go first on this one if you want.
All right.
Jackson, I really want to pick another upset, but I think Texas is too talented. They're too good. I'm going to go Texas to win and advance 27-17.
I'm gonna go Texas 35-17 against Arizona State.
And Jackson, this next game, I'm going to let you introduce it because I know this is your favorite game. But Jackson, this is a rematch that a lot of fans have been waiting on.
In the Golden
Introduce it, good
Stadium
buddy.
Mall in Pasadena, California, in the 2025 edition. You know what's funny though, Austin?
What's
Not
that?
to like throw in a bunch of Alabama stuff, but it's the 99th anniversary of the 1926 Rose Bowl, the game that started it all for Alabama football, where they won their first national title for the 1925 season. But that's another time for another day, which I'll throw that on for Crimson Tide Live. Anyway, oh man,
It's the most controversial game of this upcoming slate here, Jackson.
yep,
The most controversial regular season game that we can remember in history. Was it
yep,
offensive pass interference or was it not? And let's
yep.
set the
There's like a
record straight
1 hour
now.
argument on After Dark for Voice of College Football.
So, Jackson, let's just set the record straight right now. Let's get the elephant out of the room right this instant. Was that OPI or not? Did Smith push off or not?
No. Right call.
Okay. So you think he pushed off?
Mm-hmm. Here's what it
I do
is.
too. I'm with you too. And because here's the thing. Because if Jackson, what bothers me about that call is I know that's in the past and we got to let it go. But what bothers me about that call is, Jackson, is they're inconsistent with it. They let the offensive players do more of the tugging and pulling, but if you're a defensive player, they don't let you get away with that very often. That's what's irritating. They need to call it fair for both ends of the ball, in my opinion. But that's in the past. It's going to go down in history. But Jackson, Oregon's got a chance to erase all doubt now. For anybody that's doubting that win, guess what? They've got a chance on the biggest stage of them all to shut the haters up now.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what's going to happen between the Buckeyes and the Ducks. Like, I forgot for a moment that this is a conference game.
Our first one. Our first rematch in the new format.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? I actually kind of like the rematches. I know some people don't like it, but me, I kind of like it. It's the revenge storyline that I love so much.
Oh, I don't mind it. And Jackson, do you think going forward, do you think we'll have rematches in round one at all, or do you think it'll be later on when we get rematches?
Oh, we'll probably get all kinds of rematches everywhere. Although there's going to be naysayers go, it destroys college football. No, it doesn't. I mean, we've had rematches in bowl games, and nobody batted an eye then, or they
I
batted an eye. It just wasn't as noisy.
Yeah, true. That is true. But I'll say this, Jackson. Let me ask you something. How many times do you think Ryan Day is going to play that clip of the OPI this upcoming week? How many times do you think he's going to play that in that locker room?
A lot.
And because Jackson, another controversial call in this game that is getting overshadowed, Dan Lanning made a rule change because of his antics. Do you know what that rule change now is, Jackson?
What's that?
Where you cannot run so many seconds off the clock because you've got 12 men on the field. Because in college football, they're supposed to let you substitute. Well, guess what? Because of that now, Jackson, guess what? The team can hike the ball now, like they do in the NFL. So for all the colleges teams out there, you could thank Dan Lanning for that.
Yep.
Which when it initially happened, Jackson, were you okay with that rule change, or do you think that was wrong of them to do that just based off one incident?
I think they shouldn't base everything off of one incident, but oh well, it is what it is.
And we got Dave Linsky here who says, "You guys have a good." He's like, "You guys have a good Christmas." I had a wonderful Christmas. Jackson, did you have? Did you have a good? Dave, we hope you had a wonderful Christmas too. And the Gophers, we'll be rooting for them in that Mayo Bowl. Well, I'll be secretly rooting for Virginia Tech. Our conference needs a win because we're over. But if Minnesota wins, I won't be too upset. But in all seriousness, though, I'll say this, Jackson. This is a very controversial first game. How do you see the second game going, Jackson? Not predicting a winner, but just how do you think this second game is going to play out?
We're going to see more of the same.
What are your keys to victory?
Well, Buckeyes are going to have to really make sure they do more of the same against Tennessee. Utilize that passing game. Make sure you're protecting Will Howard because I know the O-line's been an issue for the Buckeyes all season. It didn't seem like an issue against Tennessee. It seemed like it was taken care of, but we're going to wait and see what happens. And Dylan Gabriel is going to have to get utilized against the Ohio State Buckeyes. They'll have to make sure they get the job done. Yeah, because you got to make sure you get business going. Whoever wins, you got to bring your A game, especially on defense.
And Jackson, there's a little factoid before we came on air that I want to give you credit for. Is in the long, illustrious history of the granddaddy of them all, as you like to call him, there has never been a night game in the Rose Bowl.
There you go.
And I owe Jackson credit for that one. Jackson schooled me up on that one. That is kind of interesting that there has never been a night game in the Rose Bowl outside of the regular season. An interesting fact. And this game's 5 Eastern my time, 4 Central Jackson's, and 2 p.m. Not Central, Pacific time.
There you go.
And Dave Linsky says,
got to put some pressure on the QB for sure.
And Dave Linsky says, old school Rose Bowl, even though both teams are now in the same conference. This is true, yes. Well, there was a couple Oregon and Ohio State teams I would have loved to have seen playing in the Rose Bowl. They would have been fun games. Like Justin Herbert against Justin Fields, that would have been cool. But we didn't get to see that. Instead, we had to watch it in the NFL where the Bears just absolutely had no offensive line and poor Fields. Ugh. Don't even get me started on that. Like, I can go on a whole venting session about the Bears and their offensive line and how they ruined quarterbacks. But you're not here to hear that.
No,
you're not here to hear that.
That Bears Seahawks game was terrible, but that's no time for another day. We're there for Ohio State, Oregon.
Yes. Dave Lindsay says that game sucked. Thank God I didn't watch the Bears game. Me and Jackson did because we're sickos. But
I
that's
didn't because
yeah,
I was
yeah.
doing the Alabama call-in show.
Oh, okay. Well, then I did. So I'm a sicko. It's okay.
Yes, you are. You're
You,
a sicko, but we love you for it.
yes. But speaking of sicko, well, you won't be a sicko if you watch this game. But back
Nope.
to this game, Jackson. Who's currently favored as we sit? Who's the favorite in this game?
As of right now, the Buckeyes are favored by 3 points.
Okay. So even Vegas is telling us it's a coin flip of a game. Who was favored in the first one? Was it Ohio State then too?
Buckeyes, yeah.
Okay. So Ohio State's been favored in both of these games. I'll say this, Jackson. Will Howard, he's going to be the key that starts this all, in my opinion. If Will Howard plays like the Will Howard we saw last week and against Indiana, if we see that Will Howard, Ohio State could win the whole darn thing. But if we see the Will Howard that showed up against Michigan, this could get interesting. And Ohio State, they've had the double running back of Junkins and Henderson Jackson, and I'm just waiting for both of them to terrorize a defense. Like, and I get it, it's hard to split carries between backs, but I'm waiting on them to rip the defense a new one, to make the defense fear Ohio State's run game. I just don't feel like many teams fear their run game, Jackson. Like, Ohio State, if they can get their run game popping, things will be cooking. And as for Oregon, their defense can be had. Penn State showed that. Ohio State in the first meeting showed that. They put up 31, playing them to almost a dead even game if there weren't the two controversial penalties at the ending there. And then the slide with 1 second. This is one of those games, Jackson. I don't know which way to go on it, to be honest with you. I can see either team winning. What do you think, Jackson? Like, you got any points maybe to help me out here? I'm still flipping a coin.
Nah, it's up to you. But me, I think Oregon wins again against the Buckeyes.
Well, hold on, Jackson. You're jumping ahead of the gun, good buddy. Slow down, skid roll. It's okay. Slow
Mhm.
down, Jack. I understand the wife and kids are waiting on you, but slow down. Goodness gracious, y'all. I love Jack, but in all seriousness, B Bean says Georgia proved you can beat the same team twice. Yes, that is true.
Mhm.
The, does luck strike again? Okay. Jackson, since you already said it, say it again. What's your score prediction?
I've got the Oregon Ducks winning this one, but I didn't put out my final score. I think it's gonna be a 31-27 victory against the Buckeyes.
You know, Jackson, I've been thinking, I've been flipping a coin. I think Ohio State, I think the second time around, they've learned from their mistakes, and I think it's going to happen. I'm going to take Ohio State. I'm going to pick Ohio State 38-35 in the Rose Bowl in another shootout. And this time, the Buckeyes do not let time run out on them. Give me Ohio State 38-35.
There we go. Well, speaking of Georgia, are you ready for the best for last?
Yes, I'm ready for the All-State Sugar Bowl.
Are you in good hands?
I would like to think I am, but
Well,
what?
let's go check it. Because Georgia is without Carson Beck. They're gonna have
Yes,
Gunnar Stockton stepping up.
Yes, and Jackson, I want to point this out too because it's very important. Important. Carson Beck is out for the rest of the year. He's not coming back. So this is Gunnar Stockman's team. We cannot forget to point that out.
Nope. No, we cannot. And
So
it's funny looking
go
at
for it.
the series history, but Notre Dame, I don't think, has ever beaten Georgia. But let's double check, just be sure. No, they have not. They've never beaten Georgia. It's all been a one possession game.
And B Bean says Gunnar Stockton will be Cardale Jones 2.0. You know what? Wouldn't surprise me. Would
Oh,
not surprise me.
but I'm pulling for Notre Dame in this one, but that's not my prediction yet.
And Dave
Three
Linsky
times.
asked us three
times.
times.
The 1981 Sugar Bowl, the 2017 and 2019 seasons.
Yes. I'll say this, Jackson. Notre Dame, you know, was them beating Indiana, was that fool's gold? And what I mean by that, Jack, is did they give us a false sense of security that they can win a big game when it counts the most under Marcus Freeman? Did we get tricked?
It's a good question. That is a very good question because a lot of people have been asking about Notre Dame and the big game.
Uh-huh.
They finally won against Indiana, but Sergeant Pickles from Big Ten West Mafia show at College Football Mafia, shout out to Nathan Brown at Big 12 Mafia, has said that Notre Dame basically has to win the Sugar Bowl to really get that monkey off their back. And Merry Christmas, you too, Hummus Hero. We hope you had a nice Christmas as well. And
Merry Christmas, Hummus. And Hummus, I want you to know something. Jackson picked Oregon. So if I picked Ohio State. So if Ohio State wins, don't get mad at me. Get mad at Jackson. Yell at him. But in all seriousness, though, go ahead, good buddy. Go ahead.
but in all seriousness, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are definitely going to get this monkey off their back where they have to win the big game. That's going to be the question. Can they win the Sugar Bowl? Can they win it against the Bulldogs? And if they do, they can basically really show something that has not been shown since the Lou Holtz era. Notre Dame really is a player for national title contention. Whereas, like, when they were in the Brian Kelly era, they were just there. They showed up to dance and they got beat up. That's it. They couldn't get it
Oh,
done with
yeah.
Brian Kelly. But with Marcus Freeman, that big loss to Northern Illinois was basically reality check. Like, my God, this is basically a one-game season. Every game is a one-game season. We have to win this one because a lot of people can't stand us. So we have to win our next game like it's no tomorrow.
Go ahead, Jackson. Go ahead.
And on the other hand, we've got the Georgia Bulldogs. This has been the sloppiest team I've seen since the first year of the Kirby Smart era. This has been kind of sloppy. Yes, they did, Hummus. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yes, I was happy too because that coach, I love him to death. Even though, yes, I love him to death, Jackson. He's such a character. I love him. Makes me want to root for him. I'm going to tune into every Northern Illinois game from here on out just to make sure they win.
Wow. The Bulldogs this season, they smacked Clemson off the face of the earth. A couple weeks later, they looked sloppy against Kentucky. And we see them losing to the Alabama Crimson Tide. Okay, they're losing their step. They look a little bit sloppy against Auburn and Mississippi State. They beat the Texas Longhorns. If DJ
Mm-hmm.
Lagway had played the full game against Georgia, Florida likely would have upset the Georgia Bulldogs. Then a week later, Ole Miss upsets the Georgia Bulldogs. And we see Georgia playing that dragon that's Tennessee. And we see that famous 8 overtime game against Georgia Tech. I wish would have beaten Georgia, but oh well. But then we see Georgia winning the SEC title game in the rematch against Texas in overtime. Yeah.
In homage to you, Jackson, I remember watching that game and thinking I was so disappointed. But B Bean paying an homage to you, good buddy, that you
It felt
smacked
like
him around.
Matt Dillon, smacking the crooked deputies of Topeka, Kansas at the bar. So he was
Oh,
like,
jeez.
any lesson you want to teach me? Oh,
Oh my
hey,
gosh.
that's only a nickel. Well, that's what we pay for a beer in Dodge City.
Oh my gosh. And B Bean says LL. But back to your point though, Jackson. I had to
Hey,
point that out.
only on this show will we see a Gunsmoke reference when talking about college football.
Yes.
Hey,
Only
who
on this
knows?
show.
You may see an Owl House reference for college football at some point. Hey, you never know with a guy like
Yeah.
me. Last night made a reference to Franklin and Lamar on Grand Theft Auto when talking about college
Oh
football. So
jeez.
anything can happen. But we're
You,
back to the
you can just
Bulldogs.
don't
Huh?
yes, just don't do that mess around in the strip club like they do in the game. Then we'll be good.
Oh yeah. I think Trevor does a little too much of that. Oh, that's okay, B Bean. I like the Bat Masterson theme song where he goes, back when the West was very young. There
And
lived a man
SEC
named Masterson. Da, 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 da. He wore a Cater Derby hat. They called it Bat Masterson. Do, 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 bolt. How'd I do, B Bean? Let me know. Let me know if I got it accurate.
and real
That's
quick, Jackson,
a Whipper Will. Go ahead.
SEC football is in the house. What's up? And he says, "Man, USC's defense is so terrible." Well, there is a lot of opt out, so I'll take it with a grain of salt. And Dave Linsky giving us a little upsty date. 14-7 A&M over SC. This game feels like nobody wants to win it. They actually haven't done that bad so far for SEC football. But go ahead, Jackson. Now that we got our references out of the way, go ahead.
Well, I got it all out of my system, but anyway. But yeah, the Bulldogs, I'm curious to see which version we're gonna see. Are we gonna see the one that looked really good against Clemson, or the one that's been looking sloppy throughout the rest of the season?
Mm-hmm. I'll say this, Jackson. The one thing with Georgia that they have over everybody else in the field, and especially Notre Dame, is they are the two-time national champions, back to back. Kirby Smart knows what it's like to be here. Who else in this field can say the same thing? Who else can say that they've won the whole thing? Who else in this field has that on their resume? James Franklin? Nope. Spencer Danielson? Nope. Ryan Day? Been to one? Nope. Dan
Certainly
Lanning?
not Steve Sarkisian, that's for sure.
Dan Lanning? Nope. Steve Sarkisian? Nope. Kenny Dillingham? Nope. Marcus Freeman? Absolutely not. Kirby Smart is the most experienced big game winningest head coach left in the field. And Georgia, I ain't never going to count them out as long as Kirby Smart has an ounce of breath left in his heart.
Yeah. And Mr. Bean brings up some great points about how the team loves Gunner Stock. They were blowing. I'm feeling like there's some Jalen Hurts Tua Tagovailoa comparisons, kind of like what we saw for the 2019 season, where it was like the national title. Jalen Hurts isn't doing so well against Georgia, but then we get energized by bringing in Tua, and bam, we win it all against the Bulldogs. I've got a feeling, and we could definitely see that with Georgia.
And SEC football brings up a great point. He says Kirby Smart always gets his guys up and ready to play on the big game. Only team to ever beat them on the big stage is Alabama. Give me Georgia. And Troy V says Dabo had big game experience. How did that work out?
Yep.
Yes, but but here's the thing though. There's a difference between Clemson and Georgia. This isn't Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson. This isn't the Clemson that you are going to be afraid of. This Georgia team, they are just now getting their stuff together. They are just now trying to build their dynasty. And B Bean says Kirby outcoached GA Tech coach the way he used his timeouts and overtime periods. Yes. And Hummus says Dan Lanning was the DC on the 2021 UGA title team, though, right? Yes, he was,
Yep.
wasn't he, Jack?
2019 to 2021 to be exact.
So to make a correction, Dan Lanning has won a title, but not as a head coach.
Nope.
So Dan Lanning does have championship experience, but not as the head guy. Let me rephrase that then. And then Dave Linsky says March Madness lost his voice day. Yes.
Yes, they did.
Jackson, let's take a moment to acknowledge that. Greg Gumbel passed away. He's a part of the Selection Sunday and some of the most iconic calls. It's very sad. Very, very, very sad events. And it sucks too, Jackson. Selection Sunday is never going to be the same again without him. It's very sad.
It's like Jeopardy without Alex Trebek. You know, it's kind of soft, and it's kind of like Wheel of Fortune without Pat Sajak. You know, it's kind of soft a little bit, but then you get used to it, and then a new generation will find its new voice for that particular program, and bam, you know, I think I don't know who will fulfill the void that Greg Gumbel filled, but I bet whoever he is going to be really good. We haven't seen anything from Bryant Gumbel yet, but let me check and see. I think maybe he's gonna wait a few days or so. He's like,
I want to say that. Go ahead, Jack. Go ahead.
But yeah, I think he's gonna like go see his brother. Like he's gonna like go take care of his brother's family. He's gonna like make sure, you know, everything's all okay. And, you know, they're getting everything figured out. I don't think they're gonna make he won't make a statement right away. But we'll definitely wait and see. Which I mean, there's really nothing to worry about. But just don't make sure his older brother's will be okay.
And here's the thing too, it's always a hard thing to lose someone that you're so close to. And you know, not to get too far off on a sidetrack here, but I've experienced that a couple times in my life. I've lost people that I was really close to that give me a second. That it's sometimes hard to let them go. So I understand if it takes him all the time he needs. I just hope they do the right thing and they make sure whoever is next in line to take his spot, hopefully they honor and cherish his legacy. And SEC football, I appreciate it. He says you guys are such with great hearts. Is why I love this channel. You know whether no, I always look at it as I don't care what your team is, Alabama, Louisville, Ohio State, Oregon. When it comes to things like this and just in life, I throw that out the way. I look at the human being inside.
Exactly. Yeah, because a lot of people are too upset about everything lately. So it's like we should we're not gonna let everybody being upset and being cranky rub off on us. It's like, you know what? We're gonna give everybody something to be happy about.
And Rough Rider Returns says, "Good evening, gentlemen." Good evening. And Hummus chiming in saying he agrees. We appreciate that, guys. We just try to be good people. You know, I'm sure Jackson would tell you his parents, just like mine, taught me good values.
There you go.
You respect the ones that come before you and the ones that come from after you.
Yeah.
I think that's how they say it. Yes.
Yep.
But on a happier note, though, Jackson, speaking of the team we just talked about a minute ago, Kyle McCord made some history tonight, as Hummus says.
Yeah, he surpassed the pervert.
Jackson, PG. Listen, Jackson, we just got to talk about a sad note. Goodness gracious. And then you had to bring
This
the
is a happy note. Beating a pervert's record. You know, it's like, well. I mean, on the bright side, Deshaun Watson is probably gonna hang it. He's probably gonna celebrate with a massage therapist, I'm sure, like he always does.
Oh my gosh. Okay, back to
It's
Georgia
not
Notre
for
Dame.
him, but we're like, dude, get away from us. Oh, but on a better note, you're not going to see Deshaun Watson after 2025 for the Browns. So their quarterback situation gets away.
But if Deshaun Watson, if you're listening and you want to come on a Jacksonian episode, Jackson will more than likely have you on his show. Don't you worry. And you come on my show if you want to.
Get back, bro. Rap.
That is not PG, Troy. That is not PG.
What? How does it break?
Oh my gosh. Jackson, I've heard of happy endings, but goodness gracious. Sounds like Deshaun has had too many.
Oh, yeah. Like Deshaun Watson somewhere out there is saying, I love happy endings.
Oh my gosh.
It's
but
there's not music playing in the back room. Go
But back to Georgia, Notre Dame, and Ball State Sugar Bowl. B Bean says Georgia is battle tested, Notre Dame is not. What do you think of that, Jackson? Around the narrative that Notre Dame. You think he is? Okay.
And he's right about the fact that they're better off with they've been more enthusiastic with Gunnar Stockton at QB.
I'll say this, Jackson. For Notre Dame, them not being battle tested, they've had games where they pulled it out. The A&M game, the Louisville game. You know, the USC game was kind of rough there for a minute. But as far as being battle tested, though, I agree, though. That not to the level Georgia has. Georgia has been through the fire, and they smell like smoke because they've been through the fire. They've played Bama, Ole Miss. They've played Texas not once but twice. They've played Clemson. So Georgia has continued to knock down all the competition that's been put in front of them. And here's the thing, Jackson. Some people say that when you're battle tested is when you're at your best. But it also can hurt you as well because that means more battles that you've been in. So I could see the flip side of, and I ain't trying to get into the schedule talk. I know that some people may say, why don't you just schedule cupcakes? That way you can avoid non-con battle tested games and just get the conference play. But then you've got Jackson, and then not to get too far off on another tangent here, but then you've got fan bases like yours who say, oh, it's our non-con, it's our non-con, it's our non-con. And it's like, no, it's not. It's because you lost to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, for Christ's sakes. But, and Beeping saying I was correct, yes. But here's the thing, though. When one door closes, another opens, though, Beeping. Gunners. Go for it, Jack. Go for it.
Exactly.
Who knows? Who knows? Jackson, Gunner Stockton could be the next great thing, and we don't even know it yet.
Here we go. Oklahoma lost Nate. That's hilarious. I mean, like,
Which day?
why don't you go for a 2-point conversion? Like, I know you don't want to be in a bunch of overtimes, but just take the extra point. I know it's gonna suck, but come on. It's like, oh, but those games don't matter. It's like, stop it. Just stop it. Stop with that. Bogey's so bad. Bogey's so bad. It's like, oh my God. Ah! Stop with the negativity about the bowl games. And be thankful you're gonna. And I really wish, like, Nebraska, Boston College fans, like, some of them would be happy that they're gonna play in Yankee Stadium, which, by the way, they are gonna get to play on the day of. They're playing at Yankee Stadium on the 66th anniversary of the greatest game ever played, the first ever overtime game in the history of football, the 1958 NFL title game, which I feel like some players aren't really gonna be thinking about that, which, I mean, that's okay, but it's like, I think honestly, if you want to get like some of the fans that excited about college football again, or like the players really excited, teach them about the history of all the teams. But back to Georgia Notre Dame. Are we ready for our prediction?
Not yet, good buddy. We got a couple fan questions. Let's hit these first. Did the Big Rough Rider Return says, did the Big Ten or the SEC have the best season? Right now, I would say the Big Ten, but my mind could change after next weekend. What about you, Jackson?
Right now, as of now, I think it's the Big Ten. Because at least one of the Big Ten teams will be in the semifinals between Ohio State and Oregon.
And Jackson, this is a really good point, and this kind of goes to Georgia Notre Dame. Is the Natty a war of attrition, least injuries, or will the actual best team win? That's a really good question, B Bean. I'm glad you brought that up because Jackson, like Georgia, they're a team that's banged up, beat up. Texas, they've got their own injuries. Ohio State, they're injured on the front line. Oregon, relatively, Jackson, Oregon and Penn State are like the two healthiest teams in this field. So we could see one where we could see a team in Georgia with their backup quarterback against a team like Ohio State who's missing people on the O line, and they're not particularly healthy in other places. We could see that. In Notre Dame, they're pretty. Notre Dame, they lost Benjamin Morrison for the season. That's. What do you think, Jackson?
I think the actual best team could win it all. Like, I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, some teams are dealing with injuries, some aren't. You know.
No, what he's saying to this question is, will the actual best team win, or whoever makes it healthiest will get across the finish line?
I
What do
think
you think would be more likely?
it's a little bit of both, in my opinion.
Okay. And Troy makes another great point. Death is part of being a great team, so thinking the cream will rise to the top. True. Who I'm with you, Jackson. I think it's a little bit of both. And Hummus says Notre Dame is down O lineman also. Yep. That's another big key to this game. Because if Georgia's D line could stop Notre Dame's run game, that Notre Dame's whole offense goes out the door. Like, that's how Notre Dame beats you. I speak from experience because we played Notre Dame this year. And what they did best was turn you over and get the run game established with Riley Leonard. But if you can get pressure on Riley Leonard and hound him and harass him, you got Notre Dame right where you want them.
Yep. Agreed.
I'll say this, Jackson. Last thing I'll make is whoever wins this game, Jackson, I do not envy them because they've got a heck of a game waiting for them on the other side of the bracket. I don't envy their position.
No.
Because they play the winner of Oregon, Ohio State, correct?
Georgia Notre Dame plays the winner of Penn State, Boise State.
Okay, my bad. I flipped the bracket. Well, I don't envy them because either you're going to deal with Ashton Denty or you're going to deal with the triple threat of Penn State. Take your pick, Georgia, Notre Dame. What would you rather have happen? I don't envy you.
Well, are we ready to make that prediction?
Hold on, Jackson. Hold on. We're getting good conversations here. Hold on. And B Bean says that's a good point, Troy V. The overall team, depth, coaches, strategies, etc. Talented. True. And SC football, I will answer that in just a second. I'm not going to avoid that question. But Jackson is anxious to make his pick. He's like a dog trying to eat a pig ear.
Well, I'm like a beagle getting excited about food, so
And SEC football says, I like Georgia. Okay. We got one for Georgia.
I want Notre Dame to win. I will pull like hell for the Fighting Irish to win. But what
Mm
I want and what I know are two totally different things.
hmm.
And
Mm
as
hmm.
B Bean has pointed out in the conversation in the chat, the Georgia Bulldogs are energized with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. So in
Mm hmm.
conclusion, I think the Georgia Bulldogs will win this one 31-14 against Notre Dame.
I'll say this, Jackson. I think we're at the point now where like a couple people mentioned in the chat, the cream will rise to the top, and it's gonna be whose dream lives on afterwards. I'll say this. I think Riley Leonard's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think he could be had. Georgia, like you said, they're energized, but I don't think Stockton's what's going to win them this game. I think Georgia's defense creates a couple turnovers. They stop the run game, and Kirby Smart with the big game experience. I'm taking Georgia to win 34-20.
It's fair enough. I hope you're
Dave wants
right,
his.
Davey. I hope you're right.
He says, I like Notre Dame. Notre Dame for the upset. And Troy V says, I like ND in this one, but I think it'll be a close game either way. And SC Football says Georgia has the talent edge and the coach edge. Agree. But to SEC Football's other question for me, am I excited about Louisville, Washington? Yes, because like every other body else, I want to see what our young guys are going to bring to the table against a good Washington team. I think Washington's an overall good team. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're bad. They're right in the middle of the pack of the Big Ten. They're not bad. They're not good. They're not great. They're just all right. They're right there. I want to see what we have. I want to see what the future is at quarterback. See what our young receivers can bring to the table. I want to see what this because we're going to be playing a lot of young players. I want to see what we got against more of the experience and more of Washington's players that are going to play in this game. I'm excited, nervous, yes. I think it'll be a good game, though. Do I think we'll win? No. I think Washington will eke it out, but
I'll be
I'm looking
pulling
forward to it.
myself for Louisville for sure.
I'll say this, though, Jackson. You know, I'll say this. Out of all the games, the playoff games that are coming up, which one are you looking forward to the most?
Oregon, Ohio State. What about you?
Penn State, Boise. That's the one I'm looking forward to. Not that your Oregon, Ohio State ain't going to be a classic, but Penn State, Boise's got my attention. Which game are you least looking forward to?
Texas, Arizona State.
Oh, you stole my pick, Jack.
I
I'm right there
did.
with you. Yeah, I'll watch Texas Arizona State. Don't get me wrong, and yep, Troy says Texas ASU. Yep, I think a lot
Yes,
of
who?
people are going to be ASU. Who? And Troy V says that's going to be a snoozer. Yep, 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 yep. And I'll say this, Jackson. I those are some interesting picks. Now I want to bring this up. Why not? Because this is going to be a fun little thing we could do, Jackson. Who do you think will be the MVP of this weekend? If you're foreshadowing, who's going to be the MVP of these games this weekend?
I'm
Just
gonna
pick one.
say Dylan Gabriel.
That's a good pick. I'll say for my MVP for this weekend, I'll say Ashton Genty. I think he'll be, because I think he'll keep it close. If he's playing like he should, he might run away with it. But it's gonna be some fun games, Jackson. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, I just thought of something, though, Jack. Just thought of something. Jackson. You know what we forgot to do, and hummus. Man, what's the most exciting matchup to watch tomorrow? Some solid games to watch.
Pop-Tart Bowl.
Pop-Tart Bowl. I'm looking forward to Wisconsin, Boston College. I mean, not Wisconsin.
Nebraska.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you. I don't know why I said Wisconsin. Dave, if you heard that, I apologize. Because I know how Dave in Wisconsin, they're like a badger and a bee in a tree. It gets ugly. But no pun intended.
Boom.
Dave Linsky says, Scatty Boo beat Texas. That'd be awesome. And he says, why didn't you mix them up with Minnesota? I'll be fine. I'm so sorry. But to Hummus's point, though, the Pop-Tart Bowl is going to be fun. BC, Nebraska. I would say Army, Louisiana Tech, but that's probably going to be a runaway train.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, Jackson. Jackson, another question for you. You're going to be answering this one for a minute, but do it again.
He won't.
Jackson's like, I'm done with you people. I'm out of here. He's like, I quit. It's okay. I'll say this, though, Jack. Me personally, SEC football, I think he'll be back next year. I really do. So I think he wants to go top 5. And I don't think he's going to go top 5. I think he wants to come back one more year and try to run it back with Ryan Williams, I think. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I think.
Yeah. Well, as of right now, A&M smacking USC off the face of the earth as of right now.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. And Jackson, SEC football says, is he coming back and winning Heisman? Ooh. That's a really good question. Jackson, if he does come back, who would be his competition?
Ooh, there's a lot.
I'm trying to think real
fast. We know it's not anybody from USC.
Oh gosh, Jackson, don't upset our USC fans. They'll come in here with their swords. Let's see if Milroe comes back next year. I'm trying to think. I mean, Julian Lewis, he'll probably be in the conversation if he plays for Colorado. Bryce Underwood, if he plays. Ewers, if he sticks around. And Arch. It'll be interesting. That'll be something we'll have to see going into preseason. Dave Lindsay says, I don't like the Big Ten matchups against the SEC in the bowl games. Favors the SEC way too much. What do you think of that, Jackson?
It all depends on the location. I mean, like the Las Vegas Bowl, that's nowhere near like it's in Big Ten country. Well, I can't even believe I'm saying Big Ten country now, but that's how it is. But it's like
who is playing quarterback?
USC's got Jada
Maeva. Oh,
they look like hell.
And I wanted to say this, Jackson, before we left, because I thought it'd be a fun little exercise just to get the chat's overall opinion and to get ours too. Out of the 8 coaches remaining, Jackson, how would you rank them? I'm kind of curious.
Number 1. Kirby Smart's number 1.
Okay, Dan who's your number
2?
Go for
Ryan Day has to be number 3. Sark is number 4. Franklin is 5. Danielson is 6. let me see. Okay. At Marcus Freeman, well, shoot, he's at 7 right now. And finally, Dillingham is at 8.
Okay. So I'm like you, Jackson. I've got Smart 1, Lanning 2, I've got Sark 3, I've got Ryan Day 4, I've got James Franklin 5, Freeman 6, Dillingham 7, Danielson 8. I don't. That's my 8 in order, and Jackson's 8 in order. I almost, Jackson. I know people, especially Ohio State fans, are going to call me nuts for putting Sark ahead of Day. Like, nothing against Ryan Day. I think it's close. Like, between him and Sark, in my opinion, I think it's really close. It's that close. And SC football says Kirby number 1, 2 Dan, the rest isn't close. But yeah, it's basically Kirby and Dan, and then make your pick. What else? Maybe Ryan Day, and then after that, it's like, and maybe Sark for me. Like the top 4, I think is pretty much we probably all agree on the top 4, and then everybody after that, it's kind of like, okay, where you want to fit them in. But
No.
I'll say this though, Jackson. I'm looking forward to the playoffs. Should be fun. New Year's Eve, New Year's night. And no, Jackson, you cannot be sipping on champagne while you watch them. You have
I'm not.
more important things to do. Jackson, don't you lie to me on air now. I got
I'm
witnesses
not.
on you, buddy. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm, Jackson. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Hey, I gotta be the watchful eye around here. You come on air, be celebrating Alabama beating Michigan. Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm watching you, Jack. I'm watching you.
Well, I'll
Watching you
tell you
like
what
a
I
hawk.
am sipping on. You ready for this? The latest episode of the Jacksonia with Alan Cole, the South Carolina beat writer at Gamecock Scoop at Rivals, where we talked a lot about the South Carolina Gamecocks,
Wait.
preview of the Citrus Bowl against Illinois, and so much more.
Wait, Jackson, why would you be sipping on that? Wait, Jackson, that's a weird transition, good buddy. I admire it, but what the
May have to get my
Jackson?
brain rewired a little bit.
Jackson, the we'll work on that. We'll work on that. You're the stat guy. This is what you're here for. I'm here for the entertainment. Not that you're not entertained, good buddy, but I'm here to make sure the entertainment's spot on.
There we
Just
go.
like Jackson, where you can entertain people that I cannot. Nuts. Wrong button. Where you can entertain people.
Football.
I'm getting to that, Jackson. Let me get to that, good buddy. Let me get to that. This is my part of the show. Do I need to send you a script, Jackson? For
I think
Christ's sakes.
we'll have to go over scripts and go and cut and cut.
Exactly. Yes, Jackson, you got to read the script. But anywho, where Jackson can entertain you that I can't personally, he can entertain you on the voice of college football at Alabama. He could talk all things Crimson Tide. He could talk about anything you want about Alabama. He could talk about the elephant. He could talk about Nick Saban. He could talk about Miss Terry if you want, which, I mean, Miss Terry did whip Nick Saban's butt in college game day picks. So if that is a topic that you want to hear, Jackson will gladly talk about it. But he prefers to stay out of that. But Jackson, what other cool stuff you got going on? And what could people expect from Alabama at the voice of college football?
Well, they
Now
could
take it
see
away,
the
Jackson.
latest episode that where Johnny and I had John and TJ from Michigan at the Voice College Football discussing the preview of the ReliaQuest Bowl. And I can tell you that was a fun ride right there, especially 2 days before Christmas. And of course, they can check me out on some of the latest videos I did, like the recruiting video for Alabama at the Voice College Football, where I discussed my take on Zion Gibson committing to the Alabama Crimson Tide on Christmas Eve, as a matter of fact, becoming the first commit for the 2026 recruiting class. And we are now 14 subs away from the magic number 2,500 on the channel. We have to beat Texas at the Voice College Football, show them who really runs the SEC. And it's not Texas or Oklahoma. We got to beat Texas first, then we'll beat Oklahoma. So what we're going to do is see that we can beat Texas to 3,000 subs. And of course, you can check out the latest edition of the Call-In Show where we talked a lot about Alabama football, but we even talked a little bit about Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp from Club Shay Shay. And we talked a little bit about what Alabama needs to do for 2025. What's the plan for Nick Sheridan? Do we stick with him? And of course, you can check out my appearance on Michigan at the Voice College Football for Monday night, where I joined John and TJ for about 20 minutes to discuss the preview of the Alabama-Michigan matchup. And that'll be a wild ride, and it was a fun one. And of course, for more updates, I'm 108 subs away from Alabama from my personal YouTube channel.
Jackson, you got to read the script right. Come on, you're blowing our script. Gosh.
Well, he's asking if it's scripted. We're not really scripted. It's like, we're kind of an unorganized mess over here.
Oh, okay. So apparently, see, thanks a lot, Jackson. Now people know our secret. I mean, we run it. See, okay, we can explain. Here's what I'll tell you, B-Bean. Well, we're not all good, Jackson. See, we fill out a script before we come on air. We already know who's going to win all these games, but we have to act like we don't know. Like, we know Ohio State's going to beat Oregon by 40, and Georgia's going to win on a last-second field goal, and then we're going to talk like we're going to be surprised, all that good stuff. And then, we'll write out a script to be
we're
how...
not scripted like Kirk Herbstreit. We're not scripted like Jesse Palmer. That's like...
No, but in all seriousness, though, B-Bean... What? And then he says scripted as in highly medicated. I could see that. No.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God. It's just too funny. Like, I even heard like one or two people say to me, like, I've had like one of the people in my family say, oh, I think Alabama lost to Vanderbilt on purpose. They blew it on purpose. It was like a script. It's like, okay then, moving on. Like, it was like that was there.
But in all seriousness, though, there is no script to this show. We are unscripted, unfiltered every single time you see us. What we tell you is completely off the cuff, off the top of our head. That's what makes this show fun. Well, it's always an interesting time when we get on here. We have no clue what we're going to say to one another. Most of the time, we just get on here and hit the live, and that's about it.
Well, I drag Jesse Palmer more than Kirk Herbstreit. I find him to be more likable, but I do like Shay Shay. He's pretty cool. I mean, he's funny as heck, but not
Jackson,
They need
you blew your shot. You blew your shot, Jackson.
Not yet.
So sad.
I'll get there.
Hey,
one of these days I'll get to those little parties. And if I don't, oh well.
But yeah, we're unscripted as it gets here, guys. In all seriousness, though, if you watch me or Jackson long enough, this is just our personalities. I just give Jackson a hard time like he does me. Mm-hmm. I give him more of a hard time. I'm lucky that he puts up with me, guys. But we're unscripted here. Don't worry. But we do know that Oregon is going to lose to Ohio State by 40. We do know that, though. And Oregon... and then is going to fire Dan Lanning. We do know all that stuff, though. But go ahead, Jackson.
Well, and before I continue, and of course, you can check me out on on my personal YouTube channel. I'm 108 subs away from the magic number 500, and we're going. And when we get to 500 subs, then when we get to like 1,000 subs and all that, then you'll see like the super chat option where Babine, you can see more of renditions of you know me doing the Bat Masterson song if you put in a super chat, which I mean we're nowhere near there yet.
I'm sorry, Jackson. I'm sorry to break up this again, but Troy V just stole the whole dang show. He says everyone likes this show, well, except babies. They get thrown out with the bathwater. Hey, listen, I try to stop the baby from getting thrown out with the bathwater, but Jackson just keeps throwing them out left and right. Poor kids. Listen. I think Jackson one day would make a great father, but if he does
I'd
that,
make a terrible father.
is it social security, not social security, child, whatever that child thing is, to come in and arrest the parents. They'll be knocking on Jackson's door daily because he'll be putting them in holy water and then throwing them out.
Oh Lord. I would be that
bad. But Troy is right though, Jackson. We do got to make sure we get the babies too, though.
No.
Oh no! Oh no! I did not mean for it to go that route. Well, Jackson, you want you want to explain to the world? I guess that you're. Oh my god!
I don't think I got to explain anything, but of course, for more.
Wait, Jackson. So you're telling me you're not a baby daddy yet, but there could be a special Mrs. Jackson that we don't know about.
I don't think there's a Mrs. Jackson coming in, but that's gonna take a while.
Dang it, Jackson! We got to get you one, man.
I'm okay. I like where I'm at right now, but I appreciate that.
Troy V says Jackson has a nice shade of red in them cheeks. Yeah, Troy. I think he's holding out on us. He just don't want to tell us. He's humble, which that's what I love about Jackson. But Jackson, you got. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. I'm for real.
Okay. Yeah, relax.
Yes.
Pateo.
I just caught it. But in all seriousness, though, Jackson, in all seriousness, though, good buddy, it's okay. We all know you and Taylor Swift are an idol. We all know it. Just admit it.
Anyway, for more updates on
Jackson's like, I'm not even gonna acknowledge that. Nope. He's just like, Austin, you're not.
Anyway,
go ahead.
Just for more updates on what I'm doing with Austin on the College Football Pits Analysis Show and on the Final Whistle, which, by the way, our next show.
Yes, Jackson's gonna steal.
Yeah.
Yes, I love this platform.
If she gonna date me and we break up and she writes about what an asshole I am in one of her songs, then I at least get a 10% cut of that song.
Hey Jackson, think. B-Bean says she is worth millions of dollars.
That's what I'm saying. Like if we're like dating and then she's like singing about what an asshole boyfriend I was, then I at least get a 10% cut or at least a 50% cut of that song. And she has to go on a Jack Sewing episode.
Joy V says Jackson's wondering how he got to this point. Yeah, Jackson's gonna be reconsidering his partner decisions here. He's gonna be like, listen, Austin, you're cut. Jackson's over it. I'm so sorry, Jackson. I'm so sorry. Yep, I'm. Go for it. Go for it. Before we get more out of hand and get us canceled.
I'll have to find a louder whistle.
Go for it though, Jackson. Bad manners. I don't want to get us kicked off the airwaves.
Oh, we won't get kicked off. We're good. But for more info on what I'm doing with Will on the buzzer beater and what I'm doing with Austin on the CFP Pits Analysis Show and on the CFP Final Whistle Show with Austin, and on Alabama with the Voice of College Football, and who I'll be having on the Jacksonian. Check me out on JacksonVOCFB on X and on Jackson Johnson 543908 on Instagram /threads.
Mm-hmm. And
I
B
know.
Bean says, "Did you?" Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Did
before
we?
we get that, Rough Rider go ask us about Wyatt Earp. Well, I mean, he was brave, courageous, and bold, like the theme song says. And he's got those little, he's got those singers go Wyatt Earp, Wyatt Earp. I don't know, like I kind of like the one with the Kurt Russell Wyatt Earp, like the Tombstone one. That's pretty cool. Wyatt
Mm-hmm.
Earp was a tough one. He's tough. He's tough, dude. So I mean, I tell you right now. And I like old Brad Masterson. He's cool. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, B Bean's question, did we grow up together? No, we've known each other for 2 years.
In all seriousness, though, I would say Jackson, we kind of have grown up with one another. I mean, look how much we've grown since we met one another.
Oh yeah.
What you've accomplished, what I've accomplished, our lives have gotten better. So, yeah,
Yeah.
you could say in a way we have.
Yeah.
We're not blood brothers, but we're brothers from another mother, though.
Well, we got that tightness like Brad Pitt and Leo DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes. And he says, "Oh, 2 years only seems like a lot more than that." Our chemistry is off the charts, yes, but it hadn't seemed that long ago. Me and Jackson both can remember the date when we first met. And no, it's not romantic. It's just we just remember the day we met one another.
Yep. Oh god.
Oh, Spaz! What the
God,
heck, Spaz?
God damn it, Spaz.
Spaz!
What the hell?
Spaz, just for that, though, Spaz, I'm so glad I picked against Oregon. I hope y'all get skunked now.
I think he's had a little too much of tequila and all that stuff.
Oh, gosh. Heck.
But in all seriousness, check out Spaz on Oregon at the Voice College Football as he and Ben bring out a lot of magic.
No, BB. Listen, I love Jackson like a brother, but I'm engaged. I got me a woman. We're planning a wedding. No, Jackson, you can go away. I don't like you like that. I got me a woman. I'm engaged. I'm taken. You, no romanticness here. We're
Anyway,
bros.
Austin. Okay. Spaz came say hi.
And then he's like nodding no. And he says, "Is Jackson the best man?" We'll have to see about that. We'll have to see about that. But anywho, Jackson, this show's done gone off the rails. I'm so sorry. Go
Yeah,
for it.
let's not yeah, we'll have to do better about not going off the rails because can't be doing that kind of stuff. We gotta be on the rails. But for more updates on what I'm doing, check me out on Jacksonville CFB on @/Twitter and on Instagram and threads at Jackson Johnson 543-908. Austin, what have you got planned on Sports Talk with Austin this week?
Last one, Jackson. Jeffrey is the man. Oh, dadgum Spaz. Oh. But anywho, before we get kicked off the airwaves, or Jackson's gonna fire me, one of the two. I don't know which one. But okay, so what I've got going on my channel is, of course, my shows with you. Of course, Jackson, which the next one will be January 1st, New Year's night, after Georgia Notre Dame goes final. Goes final.
Well,
We'll be here to talk about. We'll be here to talk about all all the games coming up. And not all coming up. Yeah. Go ahead. Tell him, Jack. Tell him.
That's what Austin's telling us about, telling everybody about SEC football, the Nets live stream.
Yes, which will be January 1st, New Year's night. That'll be final whistle, and then we'll make our predictions January 6th. 6 for the Final Four.
Yep. Yes,
and then, of course, you can follow me on Twitter where I rant and rave about the Cowboys, the Nuggets, all that good stuff, all that wonderful stuff. But
hey, at least he's not going quit betting the freaking rebound. Oh my god.
Yes. And Joey B says, have a little kid be the ring bearer and dress him like Frodo. Okay. I don't know if that's in the plans, Troy. I don't know. I'm just gonna sit back and let it happen. I'm not much of a wedding planner. Like I'll hire Jackson if I need to. I'll be like, here, Jack, here's $1 million. Plan a good wedding, and I'll say I did it.
No, I don't think Mark is doing a show tonight, but I can tell you he is going to have the Ohio State Buckeyes live show at, I believe, 4 p.m. Eastern time, instead of having it on this Wednesday because of, well, obvious reasons. So, a lot of pressure that night.
Jackson, we got off the rails, but it's all good. I think we'll be back on the airwaves, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, we will.
Hopefully. But if y'all enjoyed this stream, do us a big fat favor. Like, comment, subscribe, click on our notification bells.
So
it really helps the algorithm.
Another video. Damn it! I did the head shake like Jeffrey does. Like, so you never miss another video. Like, we gotta get that trademark. I tell him we need to get that trademark one of these days.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yes, that helps our algorithm out big time, both of us. And we appreciate y'all being here and sticking around because we're crazy, as y'all could tell. We went off the rails quite a bit. First we were talking college football, then we were talking about weddings and the kissing cousins and all that. And I tell you what,
I think West Virginia. I think like West Virginia has like moonshine and a lot of dudes that are named Uncle Daddy. I'm sure.
Oh my! But
it ain't Bama that's got it. We hear it's West Virginia that's got it. Some people say it's like Kentucky, but it's like it's like not an Austin part of Kentucky. That's for sure.
No. But we appreciate y'all being here. We glad that you all have a great sense of humor too, I guess, and that you enjoyed both me and Jackson. And well, we thank y'all for being here, and let's all, I guess, go to bed and forget this ever happened. I guess forget everything you heard the last 45 minutes or so. There is no wedding gonna happen. Nobody's engaged. Me and Jackson don't know each other.
Cousins, and there's no Uncle Daddies with the straw in their mouth.
Yes, let's just forget all of that and pretend like that was never said and we were all just joking. But with all that being said, though, you have a good night. Everyone sleep well. Enjoy the games coming up.
There we go.
And we will see you on the flippity floppity. Go Cards, everybody. Go Cards.